Welcome back, everyone. This is going to be an interesting segment that I have going on with me. I have somebody who's never been on my show before. I have with me Zachary Divelbiss, and he is the owner of Future First Criminal Law. Tell everybody a little bit about yourself and what you do, because you have an interesting story.
Yes, definitely, girl. Thank you for having me. My story really starts with college, being a young adult out in the free world, and making little mistakes that you don't think that will affect the rest of your life. And that's how one day I ended up getting a DUI, found myself in jail, found myself not being able to get legal help because of the cost. And it really pushed me to making better choices in my life, but then also trying to figure out how I can help other people who were good people, kind of like myself, going to college, straight A's, but then now having a criminal record holding you back from getting jobs, from continuing on to higher level education. And then obviously I did it myself, going into getting a doctorate, getting licensed by the bar, opening up your own practice, and now owning a criminal defense law firm.
Unbelievable, because, and I said, I couldn't wait to talk to you a little bit about this, because not every attorney that you have that is defending you has actually walked your talk.
Yeah, exactly, and nobody essentially goes into law school as well, going, this is exactly what I'm going to do. But I think I went into that with maybe a little bit more of, I've been through the justice system. I've sat at the defendant's table on many occasions, and finally now I can stand up for them at that table. That way they don't have to say the wrong things, do the wrong things. And that's why we really educate for our clients and advocate for them.
Now, today you said you wanted to talk a little bit about marijuana. Yes. And the laws with that, and it's very important. We're live on Facebook, so hi to everybody out there. Like us and follow us. I'm going to be sharing the show later on. What an important discussion that we're going to have here. And I love my show. And I do love my show. And the reason why I do is because of all the great information that people get to hear on this. Right now, with marijuana that has become legal, everybody and their brother is kind of getting back into smoking, or doing whatever they got to do to, quote unquote, make them feel better, sleep better, whatever.
Yeah, well,
or just want to do it. I don't know.
Exactly, and that's the whole recreational mindset behind it. Is it's now available to the public, and there's a ton of more information on futurefirst.law. But I really want to share that with 207 passing and becoming legal, is many people who've never experienced or used marijuana are kind of walking into a new world, and something that's important is. Even if you did use marijuana years ago, the marijuana we have today is almost
let me tell you,
scientifically backed. It's much
totally
stronger than anything you had in the 80s, 90s, and so forth. So it really affects people differently, and what I want to mention is just how much you can have, which is so there's still laws of marijuana. You can't go out and just sell it to your friends or to even strangers. That's a quick and easy way to get yourself in trouble, find yourself in jail for sales of drugs or narcotics at that point. And then really, how much you can possess. And it's easy, when people go to the liquor store and they load up their truck and get as much as they want, of booze. But you can't do that with marijuana. With marijuana, they limit it to 1 ounce, which is about how much you can fit in both of your hands kind of put together. So it's not really... it's a lot of marijuana. Don't get me wrong.
I was going to say, oh my God.
But it's not the Costco bulk buying season right now with it being so new. Don't go load up and save for the next couple of years.
I was going to ask you. So this is I have to ask. So somebody goes to I guess the dispensary to buy it now, and I don't know whether they, being that they're selling it, so they want to sell as much as they can, and I don't know if they are going to be the ones that say, listen, we're going to just give you 1 ounce. Right, or not, because if it's a sales thing, right? I don't know whether they just go for it and just let you get whatever you want. Let's say somebody doesn't know that, and they walk in, they just went to the dispensary, they just bought, a few pounds of it or whatever it is, right? Because they were buying it not to sell necessarily, but just they didn't want to come back and forth, right? Yeah. And they're driving in their car with it, and they make a stupid mistake driving, and all of a sudden they're pulled over. What could happen?
Well, there's definitely a lot that can happen, and that's, especially with St. Patty's Day, that just passed a couple days ago. This is going to be the big weekend. Everybody, wants to celebrate with the green beer, and then, of course, conveniently marijuana is green, and so we just know that that's going to be A big thing that's happening, and when people go and purchase marijuana, I always say, like, great, go and purchase it. It's going to be sealed when you get it. Keep it sealed when you put it in your car. Don't open it to smell it, because when you get pulled over for something minor, you don't use your blinker, you turn into the wrong lane, you brake too hard, or you miss the light, whatever it is, you're going to get pulled over, and immediately the police officer is going to start smelling that marijuana. There's no hiding it. Everyone knows how pungent it is. And then you're going to have to start essentially answering some questions, or some tips I'll get to a little bit here will be, not to answer the questions. And those are the big things with marijuana being legal. You technically are legally allowed to possess it. However, being in a car, Arizona is still a zero tolerance state, and that's what's going to hit you.
Oh boy, very scary. Now let me tell you what I tell everybody to do. In my opinion, put the phone number in your phone. Okay, so it's there. I love the name of your law firm because it's Future First, and I know that you did that for a reason, and we're going to also try and hit on that too, because you also educate people as to make sure that their future, right now maybe this has happened, and you'll probably get them off with, hopefully get them off on whatever had happened, but you also want to make sure that nothing happens again in the future. But you put the phone number in your phone, because we never know when something's going to happen, whether it's you or someone that you know. The phone number is 602-900-6642. They do free consultations. You work virtually, but you have offices in Phoenix and in Glendale, you said, but you are right now valley-wide. You work with anyone from anywhere, so especially being that it's virtual. Free consultations, 602-900-6642. It's futurefirst.law. That's how it works now. So futurefirst.law. Okay, let's go back to some of these different things. We're talking about how much you can, possess. Mm-hmm. You said an ounce.
Yeah, so you can possess an ounce, so it's a minor amount, that you can have. There are minor punishments when you have more than that, and then eventually you'll get up to the sales level, which you want to avoid. But my big thing is I don't, people aren't really getting in too much trouble for that. But what's really happening is more of the DUI consequences, and that's what I've been seeing on the rise here, is with how little scientific backing. There's been no federal studies per se that Arizona picks up on, and now everyone's essentially getting a DUI if you have marijuana in your system, and that's why it's so important to protect yourself and not admit to the police officer that you have been smoking, or even if you had smoked the day before or earlier that day, a week ago. Admitting anything like that is going to get you a DUI, because it's a zero tolerance state.
And here's the thing about people that have been smoking, right? Or drinking, doesn't really matter. We talk too much, yes. Right? That's the first thing you do. Right? You start to talk, and it's really, you need to be able to refrain yourself. You also think that you can get yourself out of it. Believe me, they know what you're doing.
And I've got a good general rule for this, and this is something that you can remember, and you tell your friends, tell your family, is when the police officer pulls you over, and a lot of people will try and talk their way out of it. And the golden rule is, if that police officer makes you step out of your vehicle, that's the moment that police officer's not going to let you back into that car. And that's the moment you say, hey, I want to call my lawyer. I don't want to answer any more questions.
That phone number is 602-900-6642. futurefirst.law. He does free consultations. They're working virtually. But he also has offices in Phoenix and in Glendale. We don't want anyone to get in trouble. This is going to be a fun weekend, and we know a lot of people that are. I happen to know somebody. I was just thinking about this, that she's excited because she was able to get this, and she's doing it, right?
Yeah.
And I just thought about this, because probably she doesn't even know any of the laws, and she might, just to bring down some of the tension or whatever she's dealing with, maybe she takes a doobie, whatever, little smoke or whatever you call it, and then she goes to the market. She probably doesn't realize what could really happen.
Absolutely, and that's the hard part. It's the hard part with alcohol too, but even more so now with marijuana, is there's no, clear gauge of I had one beer, I waited 1 hour. There's nothing like that with marijuana, because it just stays in your system for so long. And really, us lawyers, we're hesitant to say, oh, if you wait 12 hours, you're good, because we've seen it go higher. That's really the hard part of this, is trying to tell people, look, if you consume any at all, it's going to be in your system for a good 24 hours. And that's the active strand that when they draw your blood, which you have to let them do, they're going to find that. And so it's better just to make sure you don't admit it and you hire a lawyer immediately. That's why we work a lot with first-time, second-time offenders that really are questioning, do I need a lawyer? Should I hire a lawyer? I don't have a criminal background, they'll go easy on me. And that's a mistake that I made personally in my life, and many of my clients who eventually hire are thinking about. And I can't stress it enough to hire a lawyer on the very first time you get in trouble, in order to keep your record as clean as possible.
Absolutely. That phone number again, 602-900-6642. Put it in your phone. Just put it in there. You can check it out. It's futurefirst.law. He does free consultations. And again, it's not just for young. We know, I know an 80-year-old. She had a drink. She was at lunch, a little luncheon, did something wrong. And you know what? It can happen to anyone. Put the number in your phone, 602-900-6642. We're going to continue talking a little bit here, and because I really, we're live on Facebook and everything, and I want you to be able to, first, are you liking what we're doing here?
Oh,
okay,
absolutely.
good. That's really important to me. We want to come back. I do want to talk about the medical marijuana card, because that's where we are here. So what we also want to do for people that are listening right now, so this weekend, right?
Yeah.
Is a big weekend. And you had mentioned something, because I never even thought about it, but you put the greens together, and I totally didn't even think about that. The green beer and the green marijuana. And I guarantee you there's a lot of people out there that are probably just thinking, wow, this is just going to be a really fun weekend. And they, even if right now because of COVID, a lot of people are staying home, but they need to go do something, right? They run out, they ran out of beer.
Yeah.
Right? Are you finding that are happening? Things like that are happening?
We get that a lot, and there's kind of a general golden rule of car accidents. Every car accident, 90% of them happen within like 5 miles of your house, because you kind of travel there so often. Same thing happens with a lot of our DUIs, a lot of our traffic tickets, criminal speedings, accidents, all kinds of crimes that you commit are going to be closer to your house. And the reason why is because you feel so comfortable. You've driven that spot so often, you know everything, and then all of a sudden, something might not even be your fault. Somebody rear ends you, somebody sideswipes you, and then of course the police are going to come. They're going to look at your eyes. They're going to say, "Hey, you look, eyes bloodshot. You're looking a little, slurry or drowsy here. You've been smoking marijuana." And then you're like, "Yeah, it's legal, of course," and you answer that question just out of reflex. And that's where you really got to hold yourself back and say, nope. Right. The police are going to keep talking to you and hey, just tell me now. I'm going to make this easy on you. I'll let you go, I promise. And the police are allowed to lie to you and tell you those things.
Wow.
In order to get those confessions.
Really?
Absolutely.
Yeah, I didn't
it happens
know that.
Every day. And we see it on their body cams, which is great that they have that.
And so let's say you saw that, okay? Because obviously when people are getting popped, the question is, the question that I have to ask you is that it's all about getting it down, right? Getting it, whatever that offense is, getting them off or getting them down, right? When you see something like that, is that something that you could say, well, they coerce them? That's the right word? I don't know.
Yeah, there's definitely coercion that goes into many of the cases of, look, this person wouldn't have said that without you tricking them.
Right.
And the Miranda laws are very tricky as well, of when they have to give you those Miranda rights. And a lot of police officers are smart, and they know how it works, and so they'll get a lot of questions in legally before they have to tell you your Miranda rights, and so they kind of get a lot of strikes against you.
It's scary.
Pretty fast.
It's also money making, I think.
I think so too. Cities love it.
That's interesting.
So welcome back, everyone. We're talking with Zachary Divelbiss, if I said it correctly. I hope I get, it's a hard one for me. He is the owner of Future First Criminal Law, and we are talking about something so important, okay, especially this weekend, guys. Be safe. Be safe out there and be smart. one of the things that you mentioned, which I am floored by, okay, is that we were talking at the break that these policemen can almost coerce you into asking you questions that you're probably going to say it because you're a little tipsy or you're a little bit high, right? I can't even believe I'm saying that on the air right now, but it's true. And you say something, and now you've just got yourself into trouble.
Absolutely, and that's the big thing that we were talking about is the public has really made an outcry of like why police officers don't have body cams. So now they do have body cams, so we get to actually see what the police officers are saying and not just what they write in their reports, which of course then everybody's just voluntarily admitting they're under the influence. And then the reality of it actually is that the police are allowed to lie to you. They're allowed to trick you into saying things. And that's where the police will say, hey, I have to run a couple tests. Just if you cooperate, just make this easy on yourself, and you'll be free to go. And that it's really not true. They're going to put you into jail before they let you go, and you make their paperwork process easier. But nothing's easier or better for you. It all just really gets you into it, especially with your Miranda rights. They don't have to read them to you right off the bat until you're kind of in handcuffs until they start asking you interrogating questions. That's when they have to read it, and so the police are smart. They know how to ask you questions before that, and that's why you shouldn't be answering questions of like, where are you going, where are you coming from, and especially when it's late at night, especially if you're, looks like you left a bar, and those kinds of things that the police know to key in on, and they're going to get you to admit usually that you've smoked or that you've drank before they, even have to give you Miranda.
And even though we were talking a little bit about marijuana here and having 1 ounce, and that legally you're allowed to carry that, I guess, if you want to say, is that right? But there's still laws about if it's open, if it's also over an ounce, if it's in public, or what the other thing is that I want people to understand this is zero tolerance, even though you're allowed to have that. Oh, so I'm allowed to, right? But if it's a zero tolerance, that's a zero tolerance, and if you even just took a little hit, oh my God, today you're on the floor anyway, right? I'd be on the floor, forget it, for a week.
Yeah, 21 and older, you're allowed to have marijuana, but it is not a free pass to drive. What does kind of give more of the jail get out of free card is the medical marijuana card. That is something that we still recommend a lot of, if you're a daily user, even a weekly user, or you use it maybe even less frequently. If you know it's going to be in your system more than the regular person, or you're going to be driving on it because you have to consume it medically, or you're a daily consumer, having the medical card gives your lawyer one extra little step in your defense. So it's definitely a smart move. It kind of monetarily wise, it gives you a little bit of $300 to buy it. It saves you a little bit, but with it being a zero tolerance, they still have to prove the impairment, so there's still a lot that it's not a get out of jail free card, but it definitely helps out a lot.
Now the phone number to call is 602-900-6642, and I say to everyone, please put it in your phone, because you never know when you can need something like this, right? Maybe it's you, maybe it's your son, your daughter, and it can happen to anyone, grandson or daughter. I mean, really. Like I said before, I even know somebody was 80 years old, and it was so sad because it's like, why do that, right? You think that to yourself, but they do.
Yeah, my oldest client right now is 73 years old, so it's a different conversation than somebody who's younger. They have their whole life ahead of them. Well, this person who's older, they've lived a lot of their life, and they're gonna then go to jail, and it's just really not ideal for the situation that you're in.
The website is futurefirst.law. He does free consultations. They work virtually, but they do also have offices in Phoenix and Glendale, and they work valley-wide. I do want to talk about the future with everybody, right? And because that's for you the number one thing, because like you, people that have not have just tuned in, you have been busted.
Yeah, exactly. And that's the best theme of our firm. We truly care about good people. We really help people who've made a 5-minute mistake, kind of like myself in my past. 10 years ago when I was young in college, and you really thought nothing could hold you down, and then you end up getting underage drinking offenses, arrested for those, and then you get one DUI, and then all of a sudden your life flips kind of up on your head, and you're basically told. You can't get jobs after that. You're basically told you can't, go to graduate school, or in my situation, they're saying, yeah, you can't go to law school, something like that. And you know, that's part of what I truly work on to get people out of, whether it's through diversion programs or all kinds of alternatives, you know, rather than jail. Jail's my big thing, is I want to make sure people don't go to jail. There's no reason anybody needs to go to jail these days for some of these minor violations.
I know, it's really sad. It's just so sad. But I do want to talk about what you do to educate them, because that is something that was also big. I went on your website and I was watching, you know, listening to some of the different things that you have on there. And education is what it's huge about that for you.
Yeah, education is number one, because, you know, of course I want nobody to go and commit a second DUI or get in trouble again. But like myself, as I didn't have a lawyer, nobody could tell me things like, oh, by the way, you can't have a driver's license that was once canceled. That is now a criminal offense. So there's all kinds of things that people don't know. And so what I do is I make videos using some great technology, which is the best part about having a younger firm. I think, you know, practicing, having my firm for about 5 years now, it really, I use technology in a way that many other lawyers probably don't anyway. So I film my screen, I show you your police report, I show you your body camera footage, and I point out the mistakes that you maybe made or you know, didn't know about, and then I show you different things in the future that if you do this right, better the next time, you know, and you share that with your friends, with your family, you can make sure that you don't make the same mistakes again. You learn a lot from what happens on that part, and then of course I talk about some of my personal experiences as well, such as, you know, how you end up then getting a doctorate and you graduate at the top of your class, and there's still so much more you know, that you can do, and especially, you know, that one tiny mistake, 1 5-minute mistake doesn't hold you back forever.
I love the way you do that, because the way you said it just brought me back to a football team, right? Mm-hmm. They're playing on the field and they make mistakes, and the team afterwards, they go over what they did. And right? I think they do. They used to anyway. And so we're, you know, and you pointed out, and I'm thinking that's what you're doing with them. You're showing them, look what happened here when that happened, and you said this. And that's what you can't do in the future, right?
Absolutely. And
that's really neat the way you do that.
I love it. I'm the only firm that I know that does that.
I think so. Absolutely.
And really, there's a lot of hand-holding that we do kind of after the fact of, especially with the DUI, there's a ton of, you know, getting your license back requirements, completing, you know, alcohol screenings, completing the counseling classes, getting an interlock installed. And I work with companies that they offer free services as well in order to help coordinate that for people. The DUI pros, I mean, they're great here in the Valley. And so many of our clients love that resource that, you know, I'm one of the only firms that offer that.
I think that's neat that you do. Again, this information here is so important for people to be listening to this. And again, what's networking all about? It's not necessarily who you're talking to, but who they know. And you never know. If you know somebody out there that has been in trouble, give them a call.
Absolutely.
And when I say been in trouble, that's really hard to say that, because today, anyone, especially with here in Arizona, being that it's a zero tolerance law, it makes it so easy. When my kids are going out, and they're older right now, you know, like 27 and 25, I'm like, not even a sip, okay? I've never said anything about marijuana because I don't even know if they do that, but the fact is that it's a zero tolerance here, and that's, I think, what the scariest thing about it, and people think they can get out of them, and you can't.
Yeah, you really can't. They're very hard to get out of, and just the ultimate point now is technology that I was talking about is we have Ubers and Lyfts, places that can get you places much better, and, you know, spending $50 on that is much easier than going on one of my $500 a month payment plans. So in the long run, you're going to be saving a lot of money. You don't have to, you know, worry about hiring us. And
well,
if you do,
I have to say thank you for being on, and especially time. Real quickly, give them like 1 or 2 things that you could say that they shouldn't do this weekend, God forbid.
All right, if you go out this weekend, definitely don't have your marijuana in you on your pockets. Don't be drinking or smoking out in public, on the sidewalks, outside of bars. Those are big ways to make you get in trouble and caught by the police.
And here's what you do. You don't say anything. Stop talking, okay? Stop talking and give them a call. The number should be in your phone. That's the best place to put it. The phone number is 602-900-6642. The website is futurefirst.law. He does free consultations. Please be safe, guys, out there, but if something happens, give him a call.